Hey guys, LC Holt here. And this is my update for the week of August the 26th. Today, I'm here with two of my good friends, and I'm going to tell you about them. Damian Maffei, most of you already know. Damian, what's up, buddy? He's in the
What's
dark.
up?
Yeah. We're going to talk about
I'm gonna
before.
find my light. As a good actor, I should find my light.
See, I like the shadow back there. See, that's good right there. Right there. Well, not there. Below.
It's the lighting looks just like that from
Don't
Aliens.
listen. Don't let me derail things, okay? That's what I do.
Okay, I'm going to try
Good
not to do.
job as a good host.
But
to,
we're gonna talk about your new movie here pretty soon. By the end of this thing, we're gonna be talking about a movie that's gonna come out before we all get together to talk about the much lauded Alien 3.
it's my hat.
Oh, your Alien 3 hat. Well, you can save it for next time because then we'll actually be talking about that movie. Right now, we're going to be talking about Aliens, the seminal classic released July 18th, 1986. But before we get to that, all this shenanigans going on, I almost forgot to introduce Rebecca Ivey, who most of you know because she's been on the show a lot.
Yep. Hello.
So, Rebecca Ivey, Damian Maffei, we're going to be talking about Aliens, the sequel to the movie we talked about last time when the three of us got together, which was Alien, directed by Ridley Scott. Now, this movie originally was going to be made right after Alien. It wasn't made after Alien because Alan Ladd Jr. got booted out of 20th Century Fox. How that happened, nobody knows because he's the guy that got Star Wars going. But this guy named Norman Levy took over, and Norman didn't like Alien. So he was like, we're not going to make another one. And I don't know what was wrong with him because Alien made so much money for the studio.
I don't really understand that when an executive's like, I don't like this movie, and they go out of their way, even though it makes them lots of money, to try to completely
derail it.
Yes.
Which they did. They derailed this completely. Like David Giler and Walter Hill, they already had a story because they'd done this movie called Southern Comfort, and they were like, what if we kind of did Southern Comfort in space? And that was their original concept for Aliens, which isn't, I guess, too far off. There's the militaristic aspect, but I think it's safe to say James Cameron brought a lot to the story because good old Jimmy Cameron over there,
yes.
he was hired to write it eventually when there was another change in management, and originally just as a screenwriter because they're like, who's this kid? He was about to shoot Terminator, and so he wrote Aliens while he was waiting for Arnold to start shooting Terminator.
Yeah, I saw that interview I sent you that with Michael Biehn that he said that he would work and then he would come in and he'd see him writing and he's like, God, this guy's a machine. He just doesn't stop.
yeah. When he was working on Terminator,
yeah.
He was writing Aliens because they had to take a break for like 9 months so Arnold could go shoot Conan what was the second one? The Destroyer?
Destroyer, I think, yeah.
Yeah, for Dino De Laurentiis.
Yeah.
And then he came back and he shot Terminator. Luckily, they waited. A lot of studios would just say like, oh, fuck this, we'll get another writer. But, the material was good enough, I suppose, which, I mean, thinking about the movie that eventually got made, you can understand why, because I think it's safe to say this is like a masterpiece. Anyone in this room disagree with that?
No. No disagreement here.
Are you talking to us?
Yeah. We're not talking to David Giler. He's sitting right over here in the corner.
Of course.
Yeah, it is a masterpiece. I mean, so anyway, long story short, after the success of the Terminator, because that made a couple bucks, James Cameron was hired to also direct this movie, which I think is what the Brandywine guys wanted to begin with anyway. Brandywine being this company that Walter Hill, David Giler, and Gordon Carroll, that they were the Aliens people, Sigourney actually got a finished script. She didn't even know they were making this sequel until the script arrived by James Cameron. And she was off. She'd already done some other movies because, again, this has been quite a few years now since the first Alien. Mm-hmm. So this, so she gets this script and she reads it and she kind of likes it. And James Cameron, I'm sure, is quite relieved because she's the star of the movie. But there was also this, go ahead.
I was going to say, lucky for them. What if she had been like, no.
Well, that studio, 20th Century Fox, they almost got they almost didn't want to pay her what she wanted. So they asked James Cameron, like, would you think about doing a story where there's no Ripley?
Yeah, just cut her out of it.
They were gonna cut her out.
I'm sorry, is there something boring about just sending Marines to space? Do we need Ripley? Maybe the cat?
That's
Maybe
what they would do. They would
maybe just send Jonesy?
They're gonna pad Jonesy's part out. Like the star will be Jonesy. That's gonna be the expert that goes back.
He's got a little rocket launcher on his little back he walks around with. That's how
This
he
time
them.
the little shit's going with Marines.
Oh God. Well, you guys have talked about. You guys have probably seen interviews with Sigourney Weaver at this time. Very anti-gun. So how she liked this script is beyond me.
Yeah, I saw like a making of thing where she says she mentioned to Cameron like the day of filming, about the gun thing, and he said it was in the script, and she's kind of like, oh.
How do you read the script and not notice there's a couple guns here and there?
What were they supposed to use? Harsh language?
I guess so.
I love it. I love it.
Is that how we got the power loader?
That was the power. Yeah. Just
we're all anti-guns until the aliens come.
So Cameron's like, I'll give you a power loader to fight her in.
But now, correct me if I'm wrong. Damian, I'm going to direct this to you. In the first Alien, the company is not named, is it? I think this is the first time this company is named. The Weyland-Yutani. Isn't it? Because it's all over this fucking building they're walking around in Aliens. Wasn't it just the company in the original?
Why couldn't you ask me before so I could look it up and have minutes?
But I think
delete this.
I think I'm right though. It's not. It was just the company.
I don't remember.
First, right?
Maybe it's on the screen when. Maybe it's on the screen when.
Oh, in Mother's womb there.
Yeah.
It could be. Like I didn't mean to spring that on you. I probably should have researched. I probably should have researched it myself.
But it happened.
It happened. I apologize. I'm so sorry.
I need a power loader to fight off your fucking questions.
Well, we were going to do something. We were talking about when we were getting ready to do this show and we couldn't get hooked up, that you were going to come bursting through with a power loader behind me here and be like, get away from her, you bitch, talking about Rebecca, and call her her. Yeah.
Like a Kool-Aid commercial.
Right. That would have been awesome, actually. And now that would have been so amazing.
Yes.
Anyway.
Why didn't I think of that?
That would have been great because we all know that wall you're leaning against is this wall back here. We are that close. We're that close to each other.
Mm-hmm,
now, the Sid Mead thing.
He's in the John.
Right. Well, that's the mysterious dark.
What?
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Now, Sid, I'm trying to get us out of this one. Sid Mead, guys. Sid Mead. He did
Sid Mead.
Tron, and Blade Runner, right?
All futuristic.
That's right. And he also designed the Sulaco ship. James Cameron came up with that design of it. It was going to be a giant gun.
The director of Piranha 2.
That's right. The Spawning.
Yes.
Yeah.
With Lance Henriksen.
That's very true. And Lance Henriksen was in the Terminator. And Lance Henriksen was supposed to be the Terminator.
Yep.
I know.
And he had to wait.
You could have asked me that, and I would have been able to tell you.
We're going to cut everything before now, and then we're going to start with me saying, Damian, was Lance Henriksen supposed to be the Terminator?
Why, yes, LC, he was. Actually, I believe I heard that he got done up as the Terminator or a Terminator and went to the office and sat there terminating.
Yeah, all the secretaries.
And they wanted Arnold to play the Kyle Reese part, right?
Yeah, and then eventually,
too many words.
Didn't he put tinfoil on his teeth?
I believe so. I believe that's right.
Lance Henriksen has some crazy ideas because coming back to Aliens, in this movie with Bishop, he had the idea that Bishop should have like 2 pupils in his eyes. And he had the contact lenses made up and everything. And James Cameron was like, no, a little too scary.
Yeah, he's an idea guy.
Yeah, he's got wild ideas.
I love how he even executes it himself. He gets it made.
Yeah, he got it made. Yeah. Yeah. But Lance Henderson is a man full of ideas. I don't even know why I was talking about Sid. Oh, I know what I was talking about, Sid Mead. He did the Sulaco. He designed the Sulaco, which is the ships the Marines go to the planet LV 426. I remember that right here. Actually, I have it written down because those numbers and letters always get confused in my mind. But it's LV 426. Ron Cobb was back from the original Alien. But someone who was not back from the original Alien was H.R. Giger.
Often stuff. Giger.
Giger. Yeah, it's a Swissman.
I get those confused.
And I miss Mr. Giger, even though Giger's influence is all over this movie. I mean,
all over it. All over it.
The xenomorphs, which I hear are spelled with a Z. Isn't that right, Damian? And
Sometimes.
And the alien landscape, when
That's
they go
still on that chalkboard, by the way.
I know, and I was disappointed.
Because my wife walked by the other day and she said, "That's not how xenomorph is spelled."
Thank you.
And she looked at me very, very judgy. And her opinion of me is already so low. And it wasn't pleasant. Just say something else.
Okay, Peter Lamont also is the production designer on this movie. Peter Lamont from Bond fame. I love Peter Lamont. He can make anything a reality, and he had to make these Ron Cobb and Sid Mead designs a reality. No H.R. Giger, no tubes, but he did get to work on this a lot with the Bond stage because it was shot at Pinewood.
The budget wasn't that big for this movie.
No, it's like 18.
20 million, 20 mil?
Yeah, less, 18, yeah.
18 mil?
Yeah. Which
that's that's like a Game of Thrones episode.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's like the catering bill on You're Next.
That's it.
Right. Actually, that's a slight overinflation.
But catering on You're Next. You heard it here.
Yeah. Oh, we should talk about the story too a little bit too. I don't want to crowbar too much about aliens into this aliens episode, but there is this little thing about like Ripley. She's been in hypersleep for 57 years.
57 years.
57 years.
You know.
Now, and her daughter is dead.
Well, depending on which cut you watched.
Well, I do want to say that today I watched the special edition, which I'm not as familiar with because growing up I'm used to the theatrical, but I bought this special edition and I watched it today to prepare for this. And something that really struck me about it was just how how sometimes you see director's cuts or special editions and you go, well, I could understand why they cut that out.
Yeah.
It actually integrates well, where you just kind of go, okay. That's fine.
See, this is the prime example of when I watch the special edition of Aliens, I'm like, I can see why they cut this out. Because I don't want to see Newt and her fucking family driving along and finding shit, okay? And I don't want to see the printout of her daughter.
Yeah.
Okay? Just get rid of it. All right? And the motion sensor sentry guns?
Yes.
Doesn't work.
Yeah.
Doesn't work for me.
They don't work very well. The one thing about the special edition that I would say, I'll say this much. Maybe one sentry gun. The second sentry gun, you could have had in there. I think maybe the first sentry gun you could have left out. Where it's just running and running and running and it runs out of ammo. Right. I think that you probably could have left out, but I'm not going to complain too much about that because
not complain too much, not too much.
Because I kind of like the daughter thing because I think it adds some resonance to her relationship with
Newt. Maybe the daughter thing, but get rid of the Newt stuff. We don't need that.
Do you really not like the family being sent to the ship?
No, I don't want that.
Huh. Okay.
Get it out of here.
All right. Well, that was Kerry Hines' real brother. That's his only scene.
Oh. Well, I mean, in that case, get it out of here.
Well, okay. I think we can agree that Ripley's daughter. I don't think but come on, Ripley's daughter. It made me want to roll with you.
We're the Marines. This time it's war.
They're coming. These are short scenes.
A road trip.
Okay. Well, there is the one road trip, but that's how you learn how the things got back to Hadley's Hope.
I don't care.
Because
I figured that out in my head.
Well, that's true. Well, and you do get a lot of this. Like Carter Burke did Carter Burke send the family there? Because he said he sent everybody there, right?
Yeah.
So were they going? Was Burke? He send Newt's family, or was that a separate incident?
Bad guy. No, he sent.
Because I just got the idea from that scene that Newt's family just kind of were going over there and they spotted it.
It's like, hey, why don't you send like? Why don't you like? I hear it's nice over there. Why don't you just send like a little family over there and check it out?
Make sure there's lots of kids.
Damian loves the company men. What's up with that?
Love Burke. Gotta love Burke.
It's Paul Reiser. Are you mad about Burke?
I was gonna do a why didn't you just take care of her on his My Two Dads show?
Now that's a classic.
Because as a kid, that's all I ever thought when I saw it.
Yeah, are you mad about Burke? That was my question.
In a good way, like mad and good.
Okay, you're mad to go. Do you know that Burke set loose those two face huggers in there with that small child sleeping?
I know, that's
and this
terrible.
innocent woman.
He took the gun out.
He did take and he locked the door.
He didn't keep the gun. He put the gun in sight on the table.
Bastard.
Just out of reach.
This is somebody you would like.
I don't like him like, oh man, I just love that Burke. I like how awful he is without, without any exuding, the villainy, without, because he like Sigourney Weaver literally like picks him up and throws him against the wall, but he's just, he's
right. There's not much physical threat with Burke.
No, and he knows
like,
that.
He's like that asshole character from Night of the Living Dead movies that always screws the whole group over.
Yeah.
Jackass.
He's like the Mr. Cooper of, of the LV 426.
Yes.
You notice I always have to glance down at that because I'm like, LV what? Okay. Anyway, but let me go back to this because I got a good story here. When they were casting this movie, there was a character named Corporal Dwayne Hicks. And Dwayne Hicks is a great character. But the original guy who was going to play Dwayne Hicks, a guy named James Remar.
James Remar. Now,
I did this convention one time in the great state of New Jersey. And I got off of this plane.
East Coast, represent!
There you go. That's Damon's neck of the woods, sort of. And so
I would hope so.
Jersey, though.
But anyway, I got off the plane. I got into this bus where some of us were being taken to the convention hotel, and in this bus is James Remar, and I'm like, oh, cool, Warriors. And so we're driving, and I'm talking to him and the lady in back, which I always forget her name, Cherry Bomb, Rebecca.
Oh yes.
And she drives like a maniac. I learned that one
from The Runaways.
From The Runaways.
God, my brain just fried.
But you know who I'm talking about.
Yes, the lead.
So
Dakota
I get to
Fanning played her.
Sigourney Weaver.
Sigourney Weaver is her name. Very tall lady. But anyway, so we get to this place, and the next day, this convention's going on, and so I go, and that's where I meet Linda Hamilton, and was smoking cigarettes, and she was smoking like a chimney at that point. Really nice lady. But Michael Biehn was there. And they had this little room, and they had a bunch of people from like the Cameron verse in this room.
You brought a picture of Michael Biehn for James Remar to sign.
No,
he was like the Burke of conventions.
No. Michael Biehn was.
Continue.
I walk into this room, and there's like the chick from the TX, from that horrible Terminator movie that I don't think anybody likes. The one that your breast grew. The TX was there. Jeanette Goldstein over here was there. Vasquez from this movie, and from the stepmother from T2. And over here is James Remar. And then sitting directly across from James Remar is Michael Biehn.
That's bad placement.
And I sit there and I go, hey, you were Hicks, and then you got fired.
No,
and then I look over and I'm like, you are Hicks, and you're. I know, that's what I'm thinking.
Did they leer at each like
it was kind of
dirty looks the whole time?
Well, it was kind of awkward for me. I mean, I didn't, other than riding in the van, I didn't really speak with James Shamar once the convention began, but I did speak with Michael Bean, and I became friendly with Linda Hamilton, and so that was, but it was very weird because that was my Aliens moment when I had this strange thing of going, wait, Hicks, not Hicks. It was kind of weird. It was kind of odd. So that's my story about the Hicks casting. It was weird table placement at that convention. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Someone didn't do their research.
It is. Well, you've been to this convention, Damon, because it was a convention that I went to and that you went to, just not the same year. But I'm not going to say which one it is.
Monster Mania.
Maybe.
No, chili.
Yeah.
All right.
But anyway, so anyway, we'll move on from that because I just want to kind of leave that there laying on the floor. Unless you guys have something to add about this casting decision. Okay, so anyway, moving on. Al Matthews was a pwn.
In retrospect, thinking, I mean, it's hard to see James Remar in it.
Yeah.
Don't know how that would have been.
Even though he is in one shot.
Yeah.
He is in one shot where it pans down because they couldn't redo that special effect. What, his face isn't showing?
He got his ass fired.
Yeah.
It's not Michael Bean's fault.
It was just kind of weird because I did see the one interview with Michael Bean where he was talking about, and I was telling Rebecca this, because Michael Bean he was a very nice man, but I could see where he might have an edge to him, and he did this one interview where he was talking about. And then I took that actor's salary, and I took that actor's billing, and I took that actor's, and I'm sitting there going, well, hang on, that's that actor. I wonder what he thinks about that. But who knows?
I know he said because he had to wear, because like all the Marines, all the actors decorated their armor.
Yeah.
So, and James had put like a heart on his chest plate.
Yeah.
And I know Michael Bean didn't care for the heart because it's like right over the heart. He was like, it's like, like a fucking bullseye.
That makes sense.
So, he didn't like that. But James Remar's had a fine career and a resurgence since that show on HBO.
Yeah, he's been in a little bit of everything. And I don't think Michael Bean probably coming in late on this was just as well, because I just don't see Michael Bean as being the kind of guy who would like going to like the actors boot camp. They did like 10 days of boot camp before, like they do. I just don't see like Michael Bean being yelled at by Al Matthews. It's like, don't hold that gun that way, that sort of thing. He would probably just be like, hey motherfucker, who are you talking to? You know who I am? I'm fucking Dick. But I could be wrong about that as well. I should say, let's see we talked about Lance Henriksen. I remember them saying one thing about like James Cameron wanted to introduce Bishop with him wandering the ship while they're all in hypersleep. That was one idea he had. It's kind of neat, but Ridley Scott stole that idea sort of.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because isn't that what David does at the beginning of Prometheus? He's just wandering the ship.
Watching films.
So Ridley Scott must have saw that interview with James Cameron, the same one I did, and been like, well, okay, I think we'll use that. We should all. Yeah, that is. I didn't like his life cycle, but I'll steal this idea. But we should also mention, while we're talking about the cast, though, the late great Bill Paxton, who he is is hilarious in every scene in this movie, without even trying to be, playing Hudson. I miss Bill Paxton. Man, what a great actor he was. And a great collaborator like Michael Bean with James Cameron. I mean, if you think about a lot of those Cameron movies, you think about like Bill Paxton, even when he's the guy with the tire tread down his face in the Terminator, for 5 seconds. It's still pretty memorable. But definitely wanted to talk about him. He actually had already done Weird Science. I think that had already come out before this, before he started shooting this. But, obviously his films with James Cameron were very memorable. Now, a lot of what you hear when you read behind the scenes stuff about this movie is that British crew and how James Cameron was having problems because they shot this in Pinewood. And I could see
tea
that.
breaks.
The tea breaks, yeah. The infamous tea lady. I've never worked in Britain as an actor on a film or anything, so I don't know how I would react to it. It definitely is a different kind of system, you know, in terms of how their union is set up. Because I mean, you have to have tea breaks. You can't just not. I mean, it's like, you know. But I guess if you're a guy coming from California who had to kind of scrape his way up with these jobs, and you're like, I want this and I want that and I want that.
He had no time for tea.
He had no time.
Sounds like he needs to lighten up.
Do you think that maybe he's lightened up since then, Damian?
It doesn't look like it.
Really? You don't think so?
I don't know. He's
don't
making
think
Avatar
so.
movies, right?
He's
I
doing
don't-
what? Making
Making
Avatar?
Avatar movies.
He is making Avatar, yeah. And he is very demanding still. I mean, there's the talk of the reason why Avatar 2 is taking so long to come out is because he wants, you know, 3D without glasses. He wants that to be the first one with 3D without glasses. And I'm like, well, if you can pull that off, that's great. But, you know, that's one thing about James Cameron, even with this movie. But then, you know, moving forward, that I've always respected, and I wish there were more people like him in this regard, is that he never settles for what the status quo is.
No, and he's
No.
working when everyone else is like, we're off the clock, and he's like, well, let me tell you about this.
Yeah.
You know, he
I think
just-
if you had a James Cameron in the horror genre who said, no, we're not settling for this nostalgia shit, we're going to move to the next step, I think you would have, the horror would have a much brighter future. But without going into my soapbox on that, we'll go back to Aliens. So like, for instance, the guy Dick Bush, who was the original cinematographer, fired.
Yes.
I think he lit it too bright. I think that's the British system, though, because there's a lighting cameraman, you know.
Yeah.
So you say what you want and they light it, I think. And I think James Cameron wanted to control the visual aspect a little more than just say, I want it pointed that way, so light it, you know.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
you know, again, you have this guy, he's like from the Roger Corman school of filmmaking, where you have to start doing a little bit of everything. So you work your way up. Like first you paint a wall, and then you're like the production designer, and then you're a set decorator and all this shit. And then you just learn all the jobs. So he's like,
And then in the end, your credits look like a Bubba Higgins production.
that's right. Yeah.
At least
Yeah.
you get tea breaks.
You do get tea breaks, yeah. But another thing I like about this movie is all of those, you know, watching it today with the special edition, it's amazing how those effects hold up,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
you know, and there's not a single frame of CGI in this movie. You know, you have the rear projection of like when the drop ship rolls and explodes, and they're literally running away from it because it's right there on the wall being projected, you know. You have like the brilliant stuff with the scene we were talking about where Bert, that bastard, turns loose those face huggers. And those face huggers just pieces of plastic, you know, and the way that they used all these tricks to make this thing look like it's really scuttling across the floor. And, you know, just old fashioned movie magic. And there's something about that to me. Whenever I love watching documentaries about that era before everything was tapped into a computer.
And when I was a kid, that's when I was like, I want to do special effects, because I'd watch these shows, and you just had to like just be really on your toes and really smart and just figure it out. It was a puzzle.
Yeah, there was a
Now-
puzzle quality, like a magic trick.
Yeah. And things looked, I mean, obviously it looked like you could touch it because it was actually there. It didn't look like a little Jello mold thing, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's like what we were talking about. I remember years ago, me and you, Rebecca, talked about like the original Hulk movie. The
Mhm.
CGI has gotten better since then, but like the Eric Bana Hulk, where it just looked like
Yeah.
you put your finger through him, sort of, you know?
Yeah. He
It has
was
poodles, right?
Yeah, that one had poodles, giant poodles, and Nick Nolte.
And poodles and Nick Nolte.
Like in this
Crazy
movie,
sons of bitches.
Did they
like-
CGI Nick Nolte? No, I'm kidding.
they probably should have. Now, the thing about this movie, though, that was really cool was like when you see Sigourney Weaver shooting a flamethrower, there's no CGI there. Sigourney Weaver's shooting a flamethrower, which is
Yeah.
crazy, on a
Mhm.
set with
Mhm.
people. You know, it's
Mhm.
amazing.
Mhm.
I
Or
love that.
Tarantino got the idea.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
Thank God he got that idea, because that
Yes.
is fucking awesome.
Yes.
But like the vehicle, they drive around in all those little miniature models and stuff. Like that thing was like what do you call it? Like a tug in an airport pulling planes, and they retrofitted it. Had like 6-foot wheels on it or something. It was crazy. Of course, you couldn't really fit all those people inside. You could just fit like 2 people hopping out, But that's really cool, and the combination of that, and though I don't think they could drive that very well, because I think it nearly crushed a few people.
Yeah, I mean that's no good.
It happens, the film set.
Don't give CGI an argument.
It's all for art. We give for art.
Now, what do you guys think? And we talk about there's no H.R. Giger, no tubes. So what do you guys think about James Cameron's designs for the 2 major things? And the power loader is very James Cameron, and that's understandable. But him and Stan Winston designed that giant queen. What do you think about that? What do you think about that design? Damian?
Cool.
Everything in the movie is great.
Yeah.
It's wild, isn't it? I mean, and that's again another one of those things. You didn't even have like rod removal at that point. Like what you see is what they framed and shot with smoke hiding the fact there's a giant crane back there, and you never see a crane. It's amazing. That kind of. You
had to be smart. You had to be smart.
That's right. You had to figure it out beforehand.
Yes.
It should also be noted that he designed the chest burster to have arms, so it's not quite just a penis. It has like little dinosaur arms on it. I like the little dinosaur arms. It's a little less penal than H.R. Giger. I think they had like 16 operators, that Queen alien.
Yeah.
And nuts. Hydraulic head and everything. And it has that. Now, I could be wrong, because it is a lot of, light and shadow in these scenes. But it looks almost like when you first see the Queen that she's inside some sort of like a protective shell. Remember, she kind of comes down out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And she seems to leave that behind.
She's got like the tube that she breaks free with the cocoon, the eggs. Yeah, she's got like a little area. Her cubby.
She's got a neat little thing. It's like she has her accessories, because she's the Queen.
I think it's a Xeno cub. Xeno cubby, I think it's called.
And that big ass mouth of hers comes out because she's got some chompers. I was telling Rebecca before the show. That's a huge mouth.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the penis that comes out of her mouth is enormous.
Yes.
Wow, she's got a Wilt Chamberlain up in there. We were going to talk too about.
What?
She's so confused.
What? Keep saying things that are.
Oh.
Wilt Chamberlain? Does he have a big penis?
Well, that's what I was told. I didn't know the man.
By who?
Did you Google this?
Yeah, I Google photoed it. I did the image search.
You knew you were going to mention big penis, so you did research to find out who would work for you.
That's right. So you have to pick like the one basketball. Why am I explaining this? Wilt Chamberlain. He had sex with everybody in the 70s.
I don't know.
You don't know Wilt? Never mind.
I know Wilt Chamberlain.
Yeah.
Wilt the Stilt. I didn't know that's why they called him the Stilt, though. Just thought because he was tall.
Why else would they call him that? He also had another nickname, Tripod.
I just said because he was tall.
Now, can I talk about a couple of the story elements of this movie we're talking about?
I don't know. Can you?
I'm going to try to. Are you ready? I'm making Damian sweat already, and we haven't even gotten to Haunt yet. Anyway, we got like this. So in this movie, there's this thing where the doll. Remember what's her face? Newt's little doll. Rebecca Jordan's her name. Rebecca. Her real name is Rebecca Jordan, as we see on the little placard that she has in her little cubbyhole. But anyway, the doll. That's one of the bits of humor that I always liked. I always laugh at that shit when Ripley's like, "Does Casey have any bad dreams?" And she's looking inside of it, and Newt gives the best response ever, which is no, because Casey's a piece of plastic. That's like a nice little mother-daughter moment. And we should say there's a lot of these little maternal moments in this. Because unlike, the previous film where she didn't have anyone to relate to in this regard, and plus you have the inclusion of her daughter, which wasn't mentioned before.
Well,
there is,
depending on which cut you're talking about.
that's right. I'm just going with the special edition at this point.
I mean,
but
if you go for the theatrical, she's just being really nice to a little girl.
Yeah, but she does have a maternal instinct, and the kid does call her mommy at the end for some reason. I'm not entirely sure. But she does say that.
Because she ain't right. She ain't right up there.
Well, she's traumatized, man. Look
borderline malnutrition, but no. Dietrich checks her out before she torches Frost with the flamethrower.
Yeah, she's a great medical engineer, isn't she?
Yes.
There are some of these characters.
So good with a flamethrower.
Some of these characters, though, are actually quite good, but they don't last very long. I always was kind of fond of like Spunkmeyer, for instance.
Like Spunkmeyer.
Yeah, Spunkmeyer had an interesting quality to him. We don't know what happened to him. I think a xenomorph with a Z killed him in the dropship, because the next thing you know, you turn around and it's not Spunkmeyer coming in. It's the thing with the mouth.
The penis.
And the penis, yeah. The penis with teeth. But anyway, so you have the Ash thing with a Bishop, and you have a little bit of that suggestion that, because Bishop has the scene where he's like, ooh, it's magnificent. So maybe a little bit of a hint that, well, is Bishop going to do what Ash did? Because he seems mighty fond of this thing. He's looking at it quite avidly like Ash did. And there is the tension with Sigourney, with Ripley, which I thought was really kind of nice. The Bishop does not have two pupils, though. He does have this sort of childlike demeanor, which is very charming. And it certainly turns your opinion of artificial people around, or synthetics if you don't want to be tolerant to people. There's a pretty cool little thing with the whole first. We haven't even gotten into stuff like the first attack when they go into the terraformer and all hell breaks loose. You have those guns that Vasquez and Drake have, which are basically just steady cams with giant machine weapons on them, which that's pretty cool. I mean, that's pretty awesome design. You have you find out that the xenomorphs do not react to infrared. I sound like a real nerd. I'm sitting here talking about weird science fiction crap as you guys stare at me. And I'm like, and then you find all these colonists and they've been cocooned. What do you think about them being cocooned? God, I've never felt like such a nerd in all my life.
I thought you had. Come on, Collins, you have. I've known you for a long time.
Yeah, I have felt like a nerd. I've felt like this big a nerd, but I dig it. It's a masterpiece, and you guys are trying to pretend like I'm the only one that thinks it's a masterpiece.
No, I think it is. I just love Ripley and little Newt.
And Ripley always has the best ideas too. Like she just goes, let's nuke it from space. Great fucking idea.
And Hicks is like, okay.
Yeah, and he's like, okay.
Let's do this.
I do love that. After all the shit breaks loose, it's going to take the Marines 17 days to come get them.
Yeah.
Wow. What a response, huh?
It's space.
I guess. Well, I guess.
It's like waiting for the cops to show up.
It's out there, man.
Days to respond.
I think that James Cameron, was inspired a little bit. I'm just going to go out on the limb here and say that he was inspired by Robert Heinlein a little bit with Starship Troopers, the book I'm talking about, not the movie, obviously. Yeah. But that's okay.
It's a great moment, and I'm not talking about when Frost says, "I guess you don't like the cornbread either." Although that is a great moment.
That is.
Gorman's complete meltdown. Because he's he was young, up and coming. Got pushed through the system, very book smart. By the book.
but as soon as they wander into the shit, I mean, just folds up, can't handle any of it.
Only a second combat mission.
Yeah, 38 simulated.
That's
That's great there. The between him and Ripley when they're in the vehicle and all the Marines are dying. You know, he's
he's
lost
totally.
contact. It's good stuff. Yes, and he is the voice of several trains on Thomas and Friends, the
Oh yeah.
train show.
Really?
That's right. Thanks for asking.
Yeah. And Ringo was the conductor at one point.
Yes.
Now that I did know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't George Carlin on there too?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
He was the original conductor.
Pierce Brosnan. Ringo did one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
wild.
And wasn't the lady from Greece, the lady that played Frenchie, she was on there.
Thomas?
Yeah. Like one of the early episodes.
Maybe.
Like super early.
They've made so many.
I think so, yeah.
What's the matter, LC? You don't want us to talk about Thomas?
We're nerding out over Thomas. You're
You got an annoyed look on your face.
I know you guys. I'm the only one. Well, Rebecca doesn't have kids. You guys have kids. I don't have any kids. I'm just sitting watching Aliens all day.
My nephew was really into Thomas. So
Well,
I had to
Not
watch
nerdy
it
enough
with
for you to talk about Thomas the Tank Engine?
I don't know anything about Thomas the Tank Engine. If you want to talk about George Carlin, I can talk about
His
that.
face while we were talking, he was just like,
I was sitting here. I was just sitting here thinking how do I pull back this show from Thomas the Engine to
his version of our faces when he was nerding out over the equipment.
you guys think if Dietrich had run out of fuel and didn't light Frost on fire, that Frost survived, that he would have saved the day?
No.
He might have. He
No.
could have been better off.
There's no way. There's no way. No. There's no way. There's just no way, Damian. There's no way.
What about Weirboski?
I don't even remember who that was. Was that a man or a woman?
You know who I wish that Ripley would have packed in a box and then fed them to the alien was that woman at the beginning where they're questioning Ripley, and she is just such a bitch. And I'm just like, I want her to be
at the hearing.
Yes, at the hearing. Yes, the lady with the glasses and the long.
Yeah.
I hated her. I was
smoking. She had like a voice.
Yes.
No known life forms of any kind.
I know.
Hey, that's
she's
the one.
just a turd, and I just I want to see her in a cocoon.
All right, Harvey Firestein, we got it. No one's found any, no one's found any aliens. Yeah.
We've been there.
That's true. That's very true.
She really annoyed me.
She's a company lady. They're all these company people.
Shills.
Yeah.
Corporate stooges.
We all know a couple of those, I think.
We do.
Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh, I know what I was talking about.
Aliens.
That's right. That's right. The movie Aliens. So where
I commented on Gorman's meltdown, and then I made it Thomas the Tank Engine. I brought it together.
Right. Yeah. And then while you guys were talking about that, I was just thinking about George Carlin because then that's the only thing I know about it. and then I know what I was going to say. So this terraformer thing, right? That thing is not very well built because a couple of small explosions cause it to overload and become a 40 megaton thermonuclear bomb. They probably should design that sucker a little bit better, but I'm going to blame it on the company because they don't seem to have their.
They had cutbacks. It was cutbacks.
Yeah, as much as they try to get everything.
They had to show growth.
As much as they try to get everything perfect with their shit, like let's bring back xenomorphs and stuff and study them. They're not very efficient, this company.
No.
Yeah, I think Wayland Yutani needs some efficiency experts. But that aside, that does lead to the whole ticking clock thing near the end of this thing. Because you have, somehow you go from, okay, we have to seal ourselves in a room for 17 days to Bishop saying, well, we only have a few hours before this thing explodes because there's this giant emergency release out of the cooling tanks being blown up into the air like a.
Bad design.
It's a terrible design. But if you think about all the things that happen down here on LV, hang on, let me get my piece.
Get your card.
426.
LV 426. Yeah, right. Hadley's Hope. I should just be calling it that because that's what this colony is called. It's a lot easier to remember. But anyway, so that leads into the whole thing with with Burke and them, and it's a good thing Ripley smoked. Speaking of that bitch at the meeting that smoked, because that's the only way that they get her the attention of the Marines is she sets off that smoke detector. Now, one of the things that was really disturbing to me as a child, and I'm not particularly claustrophobic, I would say, but Bishop in that little tube is, you see how I'm getting H.R. Giger into this, even though they didn't want him to have anything, because I just like Giger that much. When they put Bishop in that little tube, and he's climbing to remotely pilot the second drop ship after the first one blew up, that really freaked me out growing up.
I wouldn't even be able to film it.
I mean, I could, yeah. I mean, how do you?
Like I quit.
I mean, Lance Henderson appears to be in this tunnel for tube. Yeah, he's in this tube, and for a while, and it seems
that is just
gun back.
claustrophobic.
Vasquez gives him a pistol, and he hands it off to Ripley.
That's right. He doesn't even want the pistol. He's a fine synthetic. And he's breathing. He's in this enclosed space, and he's breathing, and he's moving along with this little light. And man, that's difficult. I can't. It's hard for me even to watch.
It's just for show. I mean, he's an android.
That's right. Why is he breathing? Those are just voice sounds coming out.
It's just show.
It makes me. Okay. It makes me kind of catch my breath when I watch that every time. It's a very disturbing. It's strange, probably, that's the most disturbing thing in the movie for me. Is just him climbing through that tube.
That little tiny space. Yeah. As
H.R. Giger would say, it's awful. But anyway, so he finally does get there, and he remotes into this satellite to bring down.
You just want to play him in a film, don't you? This is like your audition tape.
I'm about a foot too tall, but I wouldn't mind it. I don't know if I have the H.R. Giger look, though. I think I look more like one of his paintings than I do like him. Except I don't have any tubes. So anyway, he climbs through that tunnel. Burke, we should talk about the second attack, too, that occurs. We're kind of speeding through this sucker, but, we've had a few detours. But anyway.
Sorry, I didn't mean to derail things with the train show.
Yeah.
Thomas.
The George Carlin show.
The George Carlin show.
George Carlin show. That's what I'm going to refer to it as. Were there any guys named Todd on Thomas the Train? Todd.
Spencer.
Todd.
Spencer. Bailey. Taylor. The list of names.
You don't know what you're doing.
You don't know George Carlin? That he talks about how people can't name people anymore.
The guy from Bill and Ted's Excellent
Todd.
Oh, good Lord! I just can't. I must go on with Aliens.
Okay, sorry.
We must go on with Aliens because Damian he's not familiar with George Carlin's shit.
Of course I am.
Of course you are.
You're talking to a fucking novice? Do I look like an uncultured pig? Is it because of the light?
It's only partly, but you have a little bit of the Bishop in a tube look with the blue light coming in from the bottom.
Yeah.
But it should be a little bit closer.
Yeah.
And you need a little 80s laptop that you can push in front of you. But Bill Paxton, doesn't he get stuck down in the floor, doesn't he? Because we were talking about this. Remember
eventually, yeah.
Well, and when they're in the second attack, when they're in the room and they're like, "Oh my God, 5 meters they're in the room with us." They look up, and for some reason they didn't know. None of these schematics have, the fact that there's a huge space above the ceiling.
That's a botch job.
Terrible.
And that's also that's a great moment because Hicks goes up into the ceiling and he looks around and he's like, "Ah!" and then just shoots wildly.
Yeah.
What happened to this guy?
Yeah.
No wonder he wanted to nuke the planet. He's a bitch.
He goes bitch for just a second there. That is true. Well, Also with Drake, where he almost makes Drake shoot. Doesn't he also nearly shoot Newt? Because Newt bites him in the hand, but doesn't he like when Newt runs across the thing, he goes and like nearly shoots him.
That's not him that fires it, right?
Huh?
That's
Was
not
it Drake?
him that fires the gun
Yeah.
when Newt runs across.
Was it Drake that shot the gun and he was pushing the gun away?
Go to the tape.
I don't know. I don't have it in
He
front of
says,
me.
"Hold up," or is it Frost? I don't know, man.
I don't know. All I know is that in
I
the
only saw the movie once in theaters.
1986.
Man.
He saw it in 1986.
No, he's an old man, Damian. This is just a running joke. It's an inside running joke. No, he's not an old man. He's a very young man. He's biting his bottom lip. I should get moving on before he grabs an axe. Oh God. So anyway, so he's got this. So Hudson gets pulled down in the floor, and then you got these. Gorman gets to have one boss moment in the air shaft.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember this boss moment when he's with Vasquez?
So Gorman's dead. Burke is dead now.
Yeah, Burke
Yes.
got killed.
You killed off Burke without
Because
even...
remember, he runs and
Yeah, and that the alien is mad about him and kills him there in that little room. He
Sure.
he tries to trap them in there, but of course he can't really do that very well. And
Little
Newt,
do you know, Helen Hunt is in the alien costume.
that would be awesome.
I
The
remember
mouth
the Gorman
open.
moment because he
It's
always
her.
was an asshole.
He was what?
He always was an asshole.
You weren't a big Gorman fan?
That's the line that Vasquez says. You always were an asshole, Gorman.
That's
Jesus.
That's right. He blows the thing up, and then
You've
Newt.
seen Aliens?
I haven't seen. My favorite is the third one. I'm just joking. So and then they have to go and they have to try and save Newt, and Newt's always a problem. I mean, let's face it. Like any child, Newt is the problem.
But she could survive there by herself with no weapons.
Yeah, and then she gets taken, and then all of a sudden Ripley's stance on what happens to the people that get taken changes drastically.
Yes. Yeah.
That's right.
Because when it's Apone, no, we can't do anything for him. When there's still people with weapons that can go in there. Well, but when it's Newt, we'll do anything to go get our Newt.
And even theoretically, Hudson was taken. I mean, you never saw him get killed. He could have just been. He could be.
She didn't
right
even
down
look
the hall.
for him when she went down there for Newt.
What if he was around the corner and he was just like, what about? But his mouth was covered. He's just like,
Yeah. He just got terraformed. He was blown up. But, I was just thinking about that space above the med lab. These were the same people that designed the terraformer. So suddenly that all makes a lot more sense, actually. They filmed the actual terraformer stuff. They filmed a lot of that in an old coal factory full of asbestos. Well, I mean, they mediated. They took the asbestos out. But and you can tell it has that the gratings and all the things. I think of course they added the elevators. I don't think they had futuristic elevators there, but the elevators do come into play there with the whole going to get Newt and pulling her out of the secretions and all that stuff, and then you have the scene that we've kind of already talked about with the Queen and all of her little drones. And I'm sure Ripley appreciates having all the guns that she doesn't like. In this instance, because what took her 2 hours, actually quite a bit longer than that in the first film, to kill one alien, she's just killing them left, right, and sideways in this thing, blowing it to pieces.
Take a flamethrower to that place.
That's right. And so as we're getting near, we're only allowed to get half of Damian now. The bottom.
I'll just move it. I was thinking about something that happened on Thomas.
I was gonna say maybe we should bring up Thomas. It'll bring him back.
I was just thinking of something.
I think we're going to have to skip to the ending of this. I'm having to leave out a lot of good factoids because we have to skip to the ending now.
Don't skip anything. You already skipped so much. Don't pin that on me, man.
Do you want me to skip? Do you want me to skip the James Horner story? Because this is a mighty good story.
I do not want you to skip over the fact that Ripley
with a queen alien hanging on her ankle, manages to pull herself up a ladder. The vacuum of space.
That's right. You know
That's how badass she is.
the part
It's
that
called
really
adrenaline.
the part that really bothers me, even more than that, is as she's closing the airlock, she lets go of the grating before the airlock closes, which you would be, as we find out in Alien Resurrection, you would instantly be sucked into space. Even if the crack was that big, you would be sucked your guts out first and everything else following. So yeah, that part does bother me. I noticed, and I think they corrected this with CGI on the special edition. When Newt is sliding across the floor toward the airlock, I remember on VHS when Bishop went to reach for her, you could see the hole Lance Henriksen was in, the cut hole around the body. I looked for it on the special edition, and it's the floor. So I'm thinking they might have done a little bit of like a George Lucas-y type correction there, but I could be wrong about that. I just always remember in full screen on VHS, you could see the hole Lance Henriksen was buried in. Let's go back just a minute though, because now I've skipped to the airlock, and we need to talk about probably a scene we would be remiss not to talk about. We need to talk about the scene when they finally get off of the terraformer. It blows up, giant mushroom cloud. Some badass James Horner music, which almost didn't get written. I'm going to share the story. And they fly back up in the dropship to the Sulaco. And lo and behold, on the ship, there is a stowaway. And this stowaway's name,
Burke.
No, is
Thomas the Tank Engine.
It's the Queen Alien with a little conductor's uniform on. Is everybody happy now?
I knew it was the Queen Alien. I didn't know her name.
I was expecting, when I was leaving that big pause, I was expecting you to
You
go
said
like,
name.
I thought Damon, you were gonna go. I thought you were gonna go Gorman. I was expecting you to like fill in. I thought we don't.
I said Burke.
You did say Burke. You gave one of what I was expecting to be happening.
Think about the movie Aliens and that part where her and Bishop are having a nice little moment. You know, not bad. You know, for and then comes down from the ship. But think about it being Burke. Like Burke's hiding out. Burke comes down, like lands on the floor, stabs Bishop with a plastic knife or something. That's pretty cool too, though.
It could be pretty cool. I think that Burke, though, in his character, would have just screamed and ran away.
Yeah.
He'd be, oh!
Get away from me, you bitch!
She says, get away from her, you bitch. And Burke's like, okay. And he just like that, right out of frame.
That was a very good Paul Reiser impersonation.
It was not.
By the way.
It was not.
I thought it was pretty good. I need to work on my Paul Reiser, that's admittedly, but that was just an off-the-cuff one.
It's not good.
But anyway, so yeah, the Queen Alien does come off the ship. She climbed up in the little landing gear deal there. She was looking for her opportunity and saw it in a split second and just got her big old fat ass up on this thing. And she flies off back to the Sulaco. And at the most suspenseful and opportune moment, she decides to stick that stinger tail of hers right through
Poor
Bishop's.
Yeah. That was
chest.
Aw. After
Bishop wasn't like, wow, the ship is 2 tons heavier than it should be.
I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Burke hanging on the back of this thing or something?
Yeah, because she's got this thing. And she's clearly got herself and a few eggs, I suppose. I don't know. I'm judging from the next film, but we'll save that for the next film. And we'll go over the many theories about that, I'm sure, if you guys even want to bother. But we'll talk about this. The get away from her, you bitch scene is one you kind of have to talk about because, you know, everyone knows that line. There are actually a lot of quotable lines.
Yeah, I was going to say this is a very quotable movie, yeah.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. And a lot of them come from Hudson.
It's not the most quotable movie of all time, but it's good. It's a good amount.
It's got some good ones in there. Of course,
it's not
quotable movie of all time, which is obviously
Kindergarten Cop.
Was I right, Damien? No, we lost half of Damien's face. He did not like that.
Of course, it's The Burbs.
Of course. See, I said it. It's the bird. I only know that because we've already had this discussion. I don't think we had.
Collins, you told me it was Kindergarten Cop.
No.
Wow. Wow.
Anyway, so what was I talking about?
It doesn't matter.
And then the Queen Alien, and then there's the fish, and then Carter Bird jumps off. Oh, I got it. And then after we already did the whole getting sucked out of the airlock, and then Spider-Man says, "I saw that in the movie." No, that's another thing. I was going to tell you the James Horner story. So after they shot all the
Countdown is the name of that song.
Yes, and
piece of music,
and it was almost not written.
Really?
That's true.
Why?
Because James Horner was given 6 weeks to score this entire movie. James Horner of Titanic fame, not yet, but eventually. James Horner, who died tragically in a plane crash. We were just talking about John Denver, not on the show, but beforehand. And James Horner died in a plane crash. Rest in peace, James Horner. May your heart go on. But anyway, in this movie, he had 6 weeks to write the score. And he got there, and they were still shooting and editing Aliens. So that cut into his scoring time. And they kept shooting it. And it had to be done by a certain point because they had a hard release. So it was coming out whether it had fucking music on it or not. But it had to have some music on it. And that may be why the movie is not heavily scored. I mean, it's not super scored. When I was watching it today, I realized, like, there's not a huge amount of music, but the music that's in it is very, very good. It's actually quite iconic. They use it in a lot of trailers for other movies, I've noticed.
Yeah. They use Bishop's Countdown a lot.
Yes, they do.
That end part there, the uplifting part.
Right, yeah. And he didn't have very long to write that. I think it was some point he had to write like 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, just to get, something for people to play, for the London Symphony Orchestra of all people to play. I'm sure that was, a little bit of a stressful moment. I think at one point they were going to fire him too. Yeah, they came very close to fire him because he said, "I can't finish the score in the amount of time that you have. You keep recutting the scene, so I can't score something that's not locked."
He should have just done some improv. Just like, okay, guys, let's go.
Yeah, London Symphony Orchestra, and now.
I like that.
Yeah, he just did that to them, and then they started playing it on thousands of instruments.
Drake, we are leaving.
Had an interesting effect going there too,
but so good.
But yeah, so it's amazing to think that iconic piece of music almost didn't get written, and this is the whole score in general, which, like I said, is sparse, but it's really great when it kicks in. Very, very exciting. He did that under extreme duress, and that's why him and James Cameron didn't work again together for a long time. And then they did Titanic, and of course that was huge. Everyone knows that music. And then eventually they did Avatar as well. Of course, sadly, James Horner will not be able to do the future Avatars, of which I think there are going to be 4. Isn't that right? Because 1 is not enough.
Who isn't psyched for those?
I'll tell you what. These Avatars are going to be coming out until well into my 60s, it seems like. So I know James Cameron's going to be old as fuck by the time this thing is done, but I think they're going to come out in sequential years. Anyway, I was thinking about all the stuff that we were going to. We should probably say how this thing did. It was like gangbusters. We were talking about before, 18 million it cost to make. And it was the highest grossing R-rated movie up until that time ever. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, the R rating had not existed for very long at that time, but like $180 million in 86 is nothing to scoff at.
And then what beat it?
Tell me.
I don't know.
I don't know. What
Passion
was the
of the
next
Christ?
Probably. Yeah.
I think that's the current record holder.
Is it really?
I think
The high-
that Deadpool, or no, maybe Deadpool beat it domestically.
Yeah, I would think Deadpool might have, but I don't know. Passion of the Christ made a lot of money.
Did
It made a shit ton of money.
shit ton of money for Jesus.
Yeah, but I'm not going to say anything else about that movie. That seems to be the smartest course of action. But I will say this because this is appropriate to the movie that we're talking about. Sigourney Weaver got nominated for
I was
Best
going to say, yeah, I was going to say
Crazy.
that.
Crazy.
Academy Reward. I call them
Crazy.
rewards because I don't want to give them that much credit.
Crazy.
Yeah,
Didn't win.
she did not win.
Did
But
not.
still, that's pretty impressive for a
For-
pretty stuffy, and particularly in the 80s, too, you
Yeah.
know. I mean, because Academy Rewards have. I should probably steer clear of talking too much more about that also. But I have my own opinion about the.
Why, you're afraid of the Academy?
Well, what if one day they don't give me a Best Actor Oscar?
Then you'll be just like Roy Scheider,
That's true. And Michael Biehn.
who got fucked over for all that
This.
jazz when they gave that shit to Dustin Hoffman.
That's true. You're right about Roy Scheider.
Fuck
Yeah.
the Academy Awards.
He didn't. Yeah. There's so many things that you could say about the Academy Awards. I mean, I'll just say this: there's no way that it can be a legitimate award ceremony if you have situations where the best director didn't direct the best picture and the best picture is not directed by the best director. You tell me how that makes any sense.
I don't want to. I mean, if you want to do an awards rant, we can do that. If people want to do that thing and have like a little party with the gold statues, that's fine. But
Sure.
can we stop pretending it's like the
Kosher?
end all be all?
Yeah. Can you stop
I mean, Ray
pretending?
Fiennes ain't showing up to them, so they stopped giving them to him.
That's true. Yeah. Well, I mean, and also there's an awful lot of Best Picture nominees and winners actually that have no built-in audience. So that might have something to do with their nominations. Anyway, but let's go back to a nicer subject.
Sigourney Weaver and Michael Bihn's their characters' relationship in the film. Isn't that sweet?
It's nice. I like it in the theatrical cut.
Yeah.
You don't
I
like it in the.
It goes a little too far for me in the extended with the
Explain.
heavy petting and stuff.
Oh, I see.
The
I see.
makeout thing with the makeout scene. No.
Did I miss that?
No, just when she's like, it's Ellen, and he's like,
Okay.
Dwayne,
Yeah.
shut up. The place will blow up. Go get the fucking kid.
I will. I
like when he's like, doesn't mean we're engaged or anything. And the shit's already there.
Yeah.
It's there. I don't need the little extra thing.
Especially when you have 15 minutes until the terraformer explodes.
Especially.
They're like the little perfect alien family, you know.
What could have been.
Yeah.
I rolled a little tear at the end.
That's the perfect
Mother, father,
discussion for
daughter
the next one.
taking on
Next
the
show.
aliens.
That's true. Yeah. When we go into the next show, which will be on.
Did you know there's the comic? The comic's out. William Gibson's Alien 3.
No, I didn't know that.
Okay, listen to me.
What?
They've done a whole Alien 3 comic based on William Gibson's screenplay for Alien 3. There's an audio dramatization of it, read by Michael Biehn and Lance Henriksen.
Interesting. Oh,
And
interesting.
there's a whole book out about it. And that's the look. I mean, I like Alien 3 for what it was. I mean, like other children who loved aliens, when I went to see Alien 3, it was like a big slap in the face and then a kick to my little kid nuts when they killed off those characters there.
But let's not get too far into that.
And then Alien 5, 6, she's playing basketball, but she's like a monster. Like, Braun Perlman, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And the guy's taking his wheelchair apart. It's like weapons. Anyway,
They're very snarky in that. I think it's because, well, they're really Firefly in that. I'll put it that way.
it's no good. It's not good. Let's pretend that didn't happen.
We'll get there eventually.
Crappy CG. So yeah, Alien 3 for next time. But yeah, Aliens is good.
Yeah. But
yeah, all the way.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go. I do agree about that Ellen Dwayne, but I will go. I'm fine with the special edition. I'm fine with that. Obviously, the one I know the best is theatrical because that's.
Yeah, I finally saw the special edition this week.
Mm-hmm. And when we talk about Alien 3,
I mean, they're not even good actors. Those people.
Well, let me just.
They're glaring. They're glaring. Within that movie, because it's almost perfect, their not greatness is glaring.
Are you saying that their acting is almost like Friday the 13th Part 3?
They are the Friday the 13th 3 of Aliens.
Okay, I'll go there. I've already went there, actually.
They
but
are
anyway,
the stoner couple of Aliens.
Well, okay, I'll buy it. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I've seen a lot worse special editions, though. I will say.
Of course.
But hey, when we do Alien 3, can we just please not do the theatrical? Just discuss.
Do you want to do the assembly? The assembly?
Let's only do the full cut when we talk about that, because it's very difficult to do the theatrical because it's just such a muddled up mess.
Burst out of dog or burst out of cow? Which guy are you?
I'm going to go with the cow.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I like the dog idea better, but the cut that has the cow in it is what I want to go with. Yeah, the dog idea makes a little more sense to me because a cow wouldn't be quite so fast on its feet. But anyway, we're not going to get into that right now. What we're going to get into right now, as we have the last few minutes of the show, is I want to talk about a movie that's going to come out prior to our next discussion, which is going to be on Alien 3. And that's a movie starring Damian Maffei over there. It's a movie called Holt, which comes out September 13th, right?
Uh-huh.
So what, are you excited about this or what, man? Holt. We were talking about that a year ago? Over? And it's finally hitting the theaters.
They're finally like, the world's ready.
No.
I think it's Holt comes out September 13th, Friday the 13th. It's a limited release, so it's about 500 theaters. So I don't know if it's playing near you. That's what everyone keeps asking me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Produced by Eli Roth, though.
What? Who? What?
It's produced by Eli Roth.
Eli Roth. It was directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods, who wrote A Quiet Place, and are now directing The Boogeyman, Stephen King's The Boogeyman.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's a slasher flick. Let's just get that out of the way, because that's what it is. Yeah. It is a slasher flick with a lot of people in it, and they all go down hard. So as long as you're willing to, you're like, I just want to see like a slasher flick that takes place on Halloween, you should love it. It's beautifully shot by Ryan Samuel, the DP, who shoots things. That's what happens on a movie. He also did the super rad The Strangers Pray at Night.
I've heard of that. I've heard of that movie.
Don't. And what else did he do? He did We Are What We Are, the Jim Mickle cannibal thing, and all this stuff. This is great. He's a great guy. It's got a great score by Tom and Andy, who did the original Strangers score.
And the Rules of Attraction.
Okay.
Yeah.
47 meters down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if you're making that up. Did they do Rules of Attraction?
Yeah, Tom and Andy, great score. Yeah,
great score. Great guys.
Yeah.
I've never met them, but I do like their score. And Holt has a great sound design. Mm-hmm. Great sound design by the Skywalker Ranch. Ever heard of them?
I said his George guy did that, right? He built that, I think.
So, Wilhelm Scream. So, yeah, it's cool. It's good. Everyone should go see it. You know what I don't want here, and I really need to get this word out, because last year. I remember quite a bit of it seeing on the Twitter.
Mhm.
When you go on the Twitter, people be like, "Oh, you guys ever think there's going to be a new slasher in theaters?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, Stranger in Prey Night came out, and and they're like, maybe Halloween will launch a slasher resurgence," which it didn't. Hellfest came out, as you know, a little
Yeah.
before it. Hellfest bombed because no one went to see it.
I think you and I were in this theater with what, 4 other people
Yeah.
watching that?
Which three of which came with us.
Yeah, they had no option, actually.
I mean, granted, that was that place in Texas, which had a population of 7.
Yeah. Awesome theater, though. Had a bowling alley.
Great theater.
Crazy fucking people outside, though. Anyway.
Do a show on that. So I don't want to see on Twitter, let's also do slasher. Just fucking go find it and go see it. Don't be stupid.
You've heard it from the man himself, Damian Maffei.
Jesus.
Don't mess with this guy. I'll tell you what, he is not one to mess with. I've seen him with an axe. And in this movie, he's going to be the devil. The devil himself.
Devil.
The devil himself.
And I speak. So if you want to hear me speak and not on this show, that's the only other place to hear it.
Oh, do people actually ask you that? Do you speak?
In the movie?
No, yeah, in the movie, in Haunt. They're like, so Damien, so in this movie, do you speak or?
Every day, I get messages about that.
Yeah.
And actually, that's the first thing that like my family will ask if I'm going to do a movie. Do you talk? Do we see your face?
Well, strangers. I mean, that's the whole point that he doesn't speak, right?
Yeah, but they're like, that was great. Do you talk? Do we see your face? We want to hear you talk. Because they're from New York.
Right.
Long Island.
Well, let's just end it on that note. I mean, go see Haunt. September 13th.
Just go see it. What are you doing?
Yeah.
It comes out a week after the fucking clown movie. Great. Go see that. But save some money. The chapter 2. Great.
That's right. Yeah.
What you fucking do? Save a couple of bucks. Go see Haunt. Don't be such just do it. Go out there. It's fun. I mean seriously. It's best probably seen with a crowd. I don't know if that's outside of like New York. I don't know if you'd be able to do that, but it's like party movie.
Yeah. Well, I definitely want to see it with a crowd, and I'm hoping to on when it comes out wide. Did you say I doubt it?
I doubt it. Limited release. They all spent their money on the clown.
Yeah.
The fucking clowns, man.
Well, you know how these things go, man. I mean, it's insane. Well, we'll talk about that off air. Because we're wrapping up.
I hate clowns. I'm like, yeah, I fucking hate clowns too, but for different reasons.
Well,
Clown Hunter.
Well, pretty soon, yeah, there is going to be this clown movie, and obviously, it's going to make billions of dollars.
Billions.
I mean, it's the Return of the Clown, for God's sakes.
Clown 2, Avatar, or whatever, Endgame.
Yeah. It's going to be right. It's going to be fairly close, I imagine. Poor Rebecca's just sitting here watching us bitch about horror films.
Do you like clowns or do you hate clowns? Do you love clowns or hate clowns?
No, I don't really have an opinion about them.
Excuse me.
I mean, I don't have an opinion. Sorry.
So what about it? I mean, what do you think about? I mean, specifically to that.
The first
one.
It?
No, I'm talking about the one that's about that. Just came out. The one sequel about to come out. Talking about Rebecca. We're talking about specific to that clown. What do you think? Are you excited for it or no?
I'm just tired of reboots and remakes. It's starting to get a little,
Fair enough.
That's a book, though. I mean, it's just a readaptation.
Yeah, but still,
But the first one is terrible.
Yes.
So
that is something that probably should have been
Exactly.
redone.
I think we got the point with the TV movie.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing about the TV movie. It has a great performance in it,
Yes.
but the movie itself, I think, it's being viewed through rose-colored glasses because
That's what I was saying was terrible. Was the TV movie?
yeah, that's what I figured you were saying. Yeah, I mean it's like early '90s television.
Not even seen the whole thing.
Very different. It's very cheesy, very corny, bad effects, but it has a great performance in it.
Yes.
But it's one of those. Yeah, Tim Curry.
Yes,
Yeah.
Tim Curry. I mean, yes,
Sean.
he was awesome.
Another late great. All these people have died. It's so morbid feeling now, but yeah, it's sad to think. John Ritter's not with us either.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, but even as a kid, I was kind of like, okay, yeah. And then I remember the kids at school were like, we have to watch Killer Clowns from Outer Space. And it's kind of like,
Watch that. I watched that in school, strangely enough.
We did as well. It was at
Suddenly.
our Christmas, it was our Christmas party for some reason.
I'm just trying something out.
And I totally remember.
I should have had this on the whole time.
I tell you, I thought that was like I was watching a trailer for Haunt. Suddenly you just turned red. Anyway, guys, we're going like 80 minutes into this. That we should stop this show.
Yeah.
We've gone too far.
No.
Before the clown movie people come after us.
We've been very honest, and that people should appreciate our honesty, which
Fucking
of course
clown people.
they won't.
Come at bros.
Come at me, bro. Come at me, bro.
All right.
Go see.
You're editing this before you air it, right?
No.
Hell no, I'm not. What do you think? I got all day?
Yeah, I thought you did. If you have enough time to watch the extended cut of Aliens, you do have all fucking day.
Which is almost as long as.
This is the extended cut of this show.
That's what I'm saying. It's almost as long as this show. So I'm going to end it right
Goodbye.
now. Okay, but go see Haunt. September
Go see Haunt. Just do
13th.
it.
Friday the 13th. Very easy. But until next time, I want to thank Damian in hell.
You're welcome.
And I want to thank Rebecca over there in
It's
heaven.
a good life for me.
It is. It's kind of a neat contrast. There's like hell on one side, and then Rebecca over there in perfect light. It's just like perfect.
This is perfect light. That's what I'm saying.
It's very flattering to you, especially. But anyway,
can we try this again?
Let's start from the beginning. Ready, Rebecca? Okay, and this is my update for now. This is the end of my update. I promise you. I'll see you all next time. Take care of yourselves.
Peace.